Hey guys, welcome to Comfy Cozy Up. So I'm super excited to talk about what I read in October. It wasn't a lot. 6 books is still a lot. But for me, I typically read more than that. But it was just a fun month, my birthday month, and the first week I was out on vacation for about 9 days. Didn't read barely read anything. I spent time with my family. I did some things that I haven't done in a while. Go to a coffee shop for the first time and actually write. That was fun. Went to the movies, which I have not done in the last 3 years. That was my first time. It was an interesting experience because Lord, this woman was in there coughing up a storm. I was ready to get out of there, but the movie I saw was The Woman King, and it was really I think it was an amazing movie. And there's just a controversy about it, but I think if you go see it, then you will kind of get it if you read a lot. Because this year I think that book I read, Woman, it's in the back of here. Yeah, Sister, Mother, Warrior, and which talks about the Dahim woman. So you can definitely pick that book up and get some more information on that. So anyway, let's talk about some books. Now, I'm going to start with the books that are not a part of Victober, because I did Victober for the first time, like a complete Victober. Because before in the past, I would do like one book, and this time I read 4. So I was very happy about that. So I also started the month just finishing up, because I did start this book in September and I didn't finish it. So I had to finish it because I had to talk about it in my prediction video, which is Seven Moons of Al-Mali Almeida. This is the book that won the Booker Prize. So you guys know I talked about it, that it was a strong possibility it was going to win. It just wasn't my favorite. And it's, the man dead. I'm dead. And he has 7 moons to find out who killed him, why them kill him, and how he can protect his friend. That's pretty much the gist of it. And all these creatures and souls that, lost souls, and their intentions and revenge, and you learn more about him because he's a photographer. He's also a closeted gay man. So this is Sri Lanka, this is the 80s. There's a lot going on. As a photographer taking pictures of war crime, he sees things that he shouldn't see, and people want to know where them pictures at. I want them pictures. So he's following trails of things that's happening. And then of course you have to wait till the very end to find out who killed him and why he was really killed. It was just hot and cold. There's some part of the story that is a page turner. You want what's gonna happen next, and this part where I was a bit bored. So this is why it wasn't my favorite. It's not a horrible book. I do think that a lot of people will enjoy this kind of storyline. This just wasn't my favorite. This wasn't. Then we have Hope and Glory, and this is a book I'm reading because I've been since last year. I've been reading the end of the year. I read a lot of debut authors, and this is another one. And this is Hope and Glory. Her name is Jandela Benson. So this is about Glory, and she lives in LA, and basically isolated herself from her family, didn't visit for years, and she has to return because her father died. So her mother's complete mess, mental breakdown and struggling, and her sister, who is having to clean up everything and taking that responsibility for the family as a whole, and her, as being a mother and a wife, and she still have to tackle it all. So there's resentment there. And then you have a brother who is caught up in some horrible situation, and he's end up in prison. And here she comes now, who hasn't seen her family in so long, and seen all of these things that she didn't know was happening. And so she's, also dealing with her situation in LA, and you get to know her. You get to know her struggles and what her intention is now that she's back home. And she got, there's a bit of a love interest in this that was like, then she wants to know what happened to her twin sister. So she's digging up dirt, and her family don't want her to dig up no more dirt. She didn't want to know anything. They want to bury what happened to her sister. It was so hopeful, but it's not memorable. This stuff I didn't care for. I didn't like anybody. And it was just, it lost its fizz. It was just like, even at towards the end when everything is revealed and everything, it just was like, that's it. I literally had that, that's it, reaction. No, y'all. No. No. Then let's get into October, the classics. And my favorite, by Oscar Wilde. This is The Picture of Dorian Gray. This book been sitting on my shelf forever. This is a book I was supposed to read in high school, y'all. My homeroom number up in the book of my name. And I totally didn't realize it was my book. That's how much I did not read this book. And I was supposed to. And I'm pretty sure I did a report on it as well. But yeah. I was a horrible person back then. But my God. It was a 5-star. I love this. And this is a genre I do not read. I do not read gothic horror. I don't read horror, period. And this I can do. I can do this. This is just a twisted story of this artist, Basil. He just like, we have a portrait of this man, Dorian Gray. And you can see him, you know, everything in him that he put into this art and how he sees it and the impact it has for him. It's just like when you think of a painting and you look at it, and you can probably ask multiple people what do they see, and they will give you different views on the painting, different things that they see when they look at it. It's kind of how you will interpret the story in terms of how the painting is looked at. And it has this youthful thing about it, and this thing you want to hold on to, so in it. So then you have the artist himself, very much influential and easily influenced, and has discuss things about himself that he's like struggling with. And he is hanging out with just the wrong person, which is my guy, Lord Henry. Lord Henry was dropping gems. Like, all these tabs is from Lord Henry. The things he was saying, how he looks at women, how he looks at marriage, how he looks at youth and beauty. And it's just the things that he was saying, that it is sharp, gutter at times, but absolutely true, absolutely like makes you stop and think of what he just said. And it's either gonna ruffle your feather, you're gonna think, oh God, you know. But this is a book, it's a classic, so it might give you a sexist feel for it because of Lord Henry's views on certain things. I was soaking it up, and I will be rereading this book because that's how much this book is like impactful. I love the ending and that metaphor that you get at the end, that you have to read the book to understand, and the creativity of that. I love it. And the tragedy that happens in this, it gives you that whole, oh, let me turn these pages because of what was happening. Love it. It's like, this, y'all read it. Then we have the first African American, and he's a man, book that was published. Now, the first book, we know it may not be. There's so many books that has been shelved, never been denied publication, and are one by one are coming out that people not realizing it's publishing now, but it was written so long ago. So, but this is the one that we know of right now that was published, and that is Cartel. This is William Wells Brown. He is a fascinating author because he was a former slave that ran away the first time with his mom. They got caught, they got separated, and so the second time he succeeded. And you get to get a little bit of his life in terms of how he learned to read, how he learned to even write his name. And, you know, and just to see that this man wrote this book. And this book is a fiction, but quite frankly, it is not. It is very much a nonfiction read, because there's so many facts and there's so many stories that he examples of things that happened that he put in here that you can Google and see that, oh, that did happen, that was a court case that happened, blah blah blah. Then there's his whole take on religion, and the fact that every single religious institution in this country during that time owned slave, and you know, a lot of them have not publicly acknowledged that their building that they preach in was built by slaves, that kind of deal. And the reason why I talked about this, because his owner at the time that he ran from was a reverend. And, you know, so there's that talk, and there's that idea of what part of the Bible that is used to justify being a slave owner. And there's that other side where it tells you what part that you should not. So there's that uncomfortable talk about religion in this, that it is disappointing at times to think that these institutions were so openly involved in that. But it also, you know, really gives a tale of a woman that is said to believe to be the daughter of Jefferson Sally. We know they did have children, but this is supposed to be loosely based on her and her experience of being sold, of being abused and taken advantage of, and how she survived, and the fact that she was had breaking point of escaping, of wanting to escape, and how she was able to do certain things. This also gives you like the idea of passing in this case of, you are one drop. Everything about you said you are white. You look white. There's nothing that indicate that you are of any black heritage. And beside the fact that your mother was mulatto, your father is white, by the time you are now in another generation, you show no representation of being a slave, but yet still you are one because of the one drop. And in this case, you have even her, as she herself have a kid. Now, a kid is now even more, has no representation of being black. And there's a part where they try to put the poor child in the sun to make the sun try to get her to be darker. She don't got no melanin to be darker. She just getting cooked. And I was like, oh my God. It's just certain things about this book where I'm like, oh, the harshness, the harsh reality of that. But I do like her survival in this. I like the drive that she had, that she's going to survive. She's going to do what she has to do, and she's gonna, even she has to pretend to be a white man, because she was able to do that in this story. She's gonna do what she gotta do, and I like that about the story. So I was here for it. Then we have the saddest book, Lord. This was a group read, which was The Mayor of Casterbridge, which is Thomas Hardy. This is my first book from the author. Writing style, absolutely love. I would definitely read more of his book. But there's another case of being your own worst enemy, of destroying your own self, of not realizing how much love you have around you and people who care about you, and making bad decision after bad decision, just keep making them, and that ultimately don't know how to get yourself out of it. But I like that this character had a conscience. Like, he realized that his flaws and his wrongs, he just did not know how to deal with it, and then you can see that in the story. So this is about a man who, in his drunken state, he just decided that he's gonna humiliate his wife and sell his wife and kid to this sailor that just happens to be in town. But he was drunk. Next day when he woke up, he realized, oh, what did I just do? And now he has to deal with the consequence, and knowing that he has lost them, trying to find them and never find them, ultimately thinking that they've died. Before that, he promised himself he wouldn't drink for 21 years. 18 years later, she pops up. He is disrespected man in the community, a businessman, has political influence in the town, and she's there. That's that second chance, want to rekindle, but want to do it again. Another mistake of pretending, lying, and not being truthful of who she is to him. Then there's the secrets that happen and tragedy that happen, and as each happen, he is doing things to cope, but doing things that are harmful for himself, and ultimately, affect other people. And as everything crashed down on him, you feel sorry for him because you realize that he is literally not a bad person. He's just a person that did not know how to deal with things and felt like hiding and lying and not being truthful was a way to go. And ultimately, he still had support towards the end. There's still people who saw the good in him, even though he got to a breaking point where he didn't see himself as worthy of anything, worthy of love, worthy of people caring about him. So it was just a sad book. I thought it was just sad. And but I definitely gonna read more books from this author. The writing style was just absolutely great. It didn't feel like a classic, honestly. It felt just more of a modern classic than a Victorian classic to me. And then the last book I read, which is supposed to be the first published book by an African American woman in the U.S. And let me tell you, I'm not going to say the name because it might get flagged, but my God, this is what they call the poor child. This is child labor at its best. Child labor at its best. This is a young girl. She was 7 at the time, and her parents was struggling, and there's that whole giving away your child for them to go work because you can't feed them, you can't survive. And but ultimately, her case where her mother just disappeared, no one knew what happened to her mother. She died. You know, if she was, something, somebody captured something. It was rough times. It was rough times. So she's in a house with a wife, a woman who just hated her guts from the get-go because of her past experience with other women that she's had, and she just automatically was going to torture this child. And her daughters just feel the same way, but the men would very much treated her like, like what she's a child. The husband was very protective of her. The son was as well. But it wasn't enough because they weren't always around. She's stuck in the house with these women, and she's being tortured and abused. So it's like you see her growing up, 7 to teenage years, and how she felt and how much more she can take of the situation, and her growing pains and her not knowing her parents and family, and just being out in this world alone and being tortured and not having a support and not able to handle certain things, but knowing that it's as tragedy was happening in the family. You could see how she felt alone and not having anyone, and so it was sad. It was sad, but I do like the fact that she was fully aware of she deserved better, and she's gonna try to get better, kind of deal. And so yeah, this is good, but it was very much a novel, unlike the other one that felt more like a nonfiction. This was a novel, and it's worth reading. It's worth reading, but it also feel like more could have been added. And again, this is very much influenced by the author herself, her experience that she wrote about this book. So more often people would think that was this also of nonfiction, because it, again, loosely, there's things in there that she took from her own experience to write this story. So which is a common thing we're seeing with a lot of the early books, how many authors were using their story and change certain things to make it fiction. So you get both in it. That's the best way I can put it. But that's how I did in October, and I really love that I was able to get 4 classics down, because I haven't read as much classic as I normally do. So this was good. 4 classics to add to the other ones that I've read. So which we'll be talking about next month when I do Vlogmas. Talk about all these classics that I've read and how I feel about them. I'm hoping to get at least maybe 2 more classics before the year ends, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, so these are the 6 books, and I'm happy about it. At least I got a 5-star one in there, and some new authors to me from the classic era that I'm definitely going to read some more of. So we're going to end this here. I'm going to go edit and eat and get back to writing. So I'll see you Tuesday in my NaNoWriMo videos and my journal mood videos. Go ahead and check out my journal mood on my Instagram, and if you're new to it, join in. It's going to be all month, 30 days. So even if you miss a few days, that's fine. Jump in and journal with me. All right, see you in the next one.